all 5 minutes running it. So,
right. All right, absolutely. Hello, everyone, and welcome. What's that?
We're live.
Yeah, I snuck in that button while we were chit-chatting. So.
Okay, yeah, we're live. Hello, everybody.
Yeah, welcome. It is Thursday, so that means you are stuck with Dan and I for an hour. A good hour, though.
Mm-hmm.
Not a bad hour. So, and everyone knows that we have a guest tonight. So, who is it, Dan? Someone important. I know that.
He's a friend of mine, actually. His name,
Oh.
his professional name is Geoff Geist, and I met him here. I know him in person more than the internet, and we got together. I'll explain more as we get him on here, but it's kind of worked out a little over a year ago that we started talking about doing an audiobook, and he has worked diligently over the past year when he's had time to get this together, and so I'm really excited about hear it and meet him and hear what he's doing and what he's done and all that. So we'll get to that. But his name's Geoff Geist, and if you're asking, yes, Geist is German for ghost. That's not a pen name or anything. That's actually his name, but he uses that a lot. So I do have some exciting news beyond the fact that, yes, Winter Wizard Chronicles audiobook will be released relatively soon. We are in the holding phase of he's given everything to ACX to give it to Audible and make it live.
Right.
We're waiting for them to approve it. And I don't see why they wouldn't. But we're pretty certain it'll be very soon. We're going to have the audiobook. I'm hoping to have it out by my birthday, which happens to be the last of this month. So we're hoping to do this big event for that. And so that's good. But another thing is I just was given the opportunity from Amazon for self-publishing, which Winter Wizard Chronicles is my one self-published book, to do a hardback edition. I've got paperback, ebook, now audio's on the way, but now they have special hardback editions. And so now it's going to have to take me going in there and making it, because as a self-publisher, you're responsible for production, but they now have the option in that production to do hardback editions. So I thought it's pretty cool. That now it probably won't be coming out till closer to Christmas, but for this year, if you want to do gifts or special things, this book will now have a hardback edition, which is I think is just great.
Yeah, absolutely. I wouldn't mind owning hardcover.
Mm-hmm. I'm looking forward to it. So far, I've only ever had one book in hardcover, and it was my very first book that was by that horrible publisher. So it'd be kind of lament the fact that my only, hardback edition was that terrible publisher. So, and hardbacks are really hard to do. They're expensive, and marketing-wise, they're not that lucrative. Most people just want the book, and paperback is pretty good because it's easy to carry along and do. In fact, like right here, I just bought this Kohl's. I'm going to promote this because I worked for Kohl's for a number of years, and they have a program called Kohl's Cares for Kids. And you'll see toys and books and stuff by the register that's advertised for that. And when you buy something, all the money goes for that. And yes, that program 100% goes to sponsor kids charities all in your area. Wherever your Kohl's is, that area is going to be sponsoring it. And last time I was there, a couple weeks ago, they have all the Harry Potter books, paperback, in that Kohl's Cares for Kids program. So you're buying the book, which that's what I did. I got a paperback of this one. We're going to Order of the Phoenix here. And paperback editions, but it's great. It's $10 a book, and they are really, I said, I love Kohl's Cares for Kids. It's a great charitable organization that Kohl's runs. And for me, it's like I was going to bring this with me on a trip, and I don't like hardbacks. They're hard to pack, hard to read. This one's no paperback. So,
right.
So for me, paperbacks are great. But for people who like collecting books, who want special editions, like that, hardbacks are in. And so I'm really excited about being able to do that.
Very nice. I think that would be pretty cool. I would love, a nice signed hardcover copy of the book would be very nice. So I see that in my near future.
Yes.
To add to my collection. So
I will make sure to sign it to Brian Shepard. Do not give this away from
That's
Daniel.
right. I do. Yes, I do have a habit of giving away my copies of books, pretty much. What was it? Christmas, right?
Mhm.
Christmas. You sent me like 7 or 8 books or something like that,
Mhm.
and I gave them all away. So people did win copies of those books, and I did give them away. So they were very, very appreciative.
Yeah.
So yeah, we'll have to start doing that again at some point, giving away some stuff. So yeah.
And so, in other news,
Yes.
the Kickstarter that I have been promoting so heavily, we have today we have breached the $6,000 mark of the $10,000 we're
Well,
going
good.
for. So we've actually gone past $6,000. But still, we've got a little over 2 weeks to get another $4,000. So
Right.
I need people to help promote it and get it going out there. But I'm just really excited because it's still going along every day, a little bit more, a little bit more. So we
Right.
did over $1,000 in one day just recently.
Nice.
So
Well, yeah. So I would suggest that you put the link in the comment box only because, we stream to 3 places at once. So we're live on Facebook where most people are watching from. We're also live on our YouTube channel as well. And now I've just added us to Twitch for some odd reason.
just for fun.
The more the merrier, right? The more places you can catch us and watch us. So yeah. So everyone will be reading this. So there's the ad,
The link.
the link,
There's a link to the Kickstarter. Support
Yeah.
it if you can. Promote it if you can. Here's a little something I learned, and I've talked about this before, but I want to repeat it because it's important for Kickstarter programs. Kickstarter helps promote internally. More than 70% of our money, our revenue that we've got so far, has come from people on Kickstarter finding us in Kickstarter. How that works is you click on ours per se, and at the bottom there's 3 others. If you like this, you might like these. It's a little promotional thing within there. How they pick those 3 is, first of all, if they're related. Ours is comic book; those are all comic books. But
Right.
second, if the number of backers that it has gives it more priority to show up there. It doesn't matter if those backers put $1 million in or $1. As long as there's a lot of backers, or more new backers coming, they promote it. So even if you only have $1 to just, and then literally a little box there, click so I'm just going to give you $1. Go in there, give a small amount, and that'll give us another backer. The more backers we have, the more it gets visible on Kickstarter's website.
Mm.
So that's so helpful, and that's what I'm asking anybody to do that. Just as much as you're willing to fund, yay, and there's some great bonuses in that. But if you only have a little bit to fund, that helps us. You won't believe actually does help us. So go for it. And yes, Chris Evans has been very good and diligent in sharing the link out there, and that we love that. We appreciate that every day for people to help share the word on this, because word of mouth on social media is vital.
Absolutely.
So anything new in your life right now? Anything fun happening for you?
Too much and the wrong type of show, unfortunately. I should start a separate show and just call it like the bitch box because of all the crap. I work in retail, so that's enough for you to kind of realize what I'm going through 5 days a week. So yeah, the wrong type of show. So I won't talk about what's going on at work, unfortunately, but work is work. Back to school is over. All the little kiddies are going back to school, hopefully. So I'm in charge of, getting rid of that crap out of my store because I work for Staples. So
is your back to school stuff on sale right now to move it off the shelves?
Clearance.
Okay.
My goodness, everything practically went on clearance. So go.
Well, let me help do a little advertising for you right now because I've done this for years.
Okay.
Back when I was in East Tennessee, and we're starting to try and do it up here, is there's a program that Samaritan's Purse, which is a charitable organization run by Franklin Graham, Billy Graham's son, they create gift boxes, gift packages that they bring to children in third world countries, and they bring them here to orphanages. All that. They got the box is a Christmas gift stuffed with school supplies, socks, crayons, little coloring books. I mean, the box is just packed full of this stuff, and a lot of it is school supplies because these kids can't afford it. And so this is the time of the year you want to go and buy those. If you are near a Hobby Lobby, they are a drop-off zone. They do this, but they carry some of the stuff. If you want to get it cheap, go to Staples and places like that that are having all their back-to-school stuff to get off the shelf because they're wanting to get Christmas and all that stuff going. So go there, buy crayons, buy pencils, pencil sharpeners, glue sticks, all the stuff they need. Bring it. If you don't want to make boxes, bring it to Hobby Lobby and say, here, find somebody who needs it. And I would much rather people who need stuff get it than just, sit there and get shipped off to clearance bins. So that's a little promotion thing I do. I love, it's called Operation Christmas Child. I love that program because so many kids are in need of such basic things. And this program does its best to help them get that every year at Christmas. So.
Very nice. Very nice. Yeah, please buy my clearance and give it away to charitable donations. So yeah, but that's what I'm dealing with. So now the fall stuff is coming out. So the whole entire store is changing around, and that's my job. And I set the store up for the product to have a place to go on the shelf. That's what I do. So it's tedious, but I love the work. So I love interacting with my customers. So, but coworkers on the other hand, well, you always get a couple of those that whatever. But anyway.
Let's have fun.
That's right. So we're going to have fun tonight because, it's not every day that you get to talk to someone who probably said your name. Probably. I don't even know how many times my name is in the book.
I don't know. I have never counted it. But yes, you get to hear tonight Brian's voice in somebody else's, Brian's words in somebody else's voice because... So the fun thing tonight, and he's talked about it and advertised it, is we have the narrator for the audiobook for Winter Wizard Chronicles, Geoff Geist. And he has done a lot of stuff. This is his first audiobook, and I have to say that I think he's done a fantastic job. And so we're going to play a little bit of clip, and then we'll bring him on. So are we ready for that?
Yeah, sure. Please.
Okay. So I'm going to play a short clip. This is, now, when you're in Audible, as you should, if you go to Audible, there's always a little sample clip of the book. So you get a chance to hear a little bit of what's going to be inside. This is the sample that we've picked. I'm going to play part of it for you. So tell me if you can't hear it.
He pivoted, hoping no one was there to see him waving a wand around like an idiot. What the? On the small patio table was a little golden hand mirror. Huh? Before he could investigate this new object, his phone rang. He grabbed it up and then sneered. What is it now? No, I can't come in today. No, I have a friend visiting that I don't care if she says she can't make it. Look, she skipped work 5 times this month. Why'd you even hire her? He walked off while arguing with his boss from the gas station. Finally hanging up, he scoffed with a hard eye roll and tossed the phone back in the chair. Idiot. He returned to find out what this object was when he stopped in his tracks. Sitting next to the mirror was a vivid black cat with piercing golden eyes staring at him. This cat looked almost normal, but his hind legs were different, and it appeared to be a little bigger than the average house cat. What was most striking was the way the cat was just staring at him. It appeared to be in deep thought as it glared at his face. Brian cautiously stepped up to the sliding glass door and gently pushed it aside. Are you lost? He asked, hoping this wasn't some kind of wild cat that could be dangerous. Would you like some milk? The cat didn't budge except to move its head to keep that focused stare pinned on him. Gulping down his tension, Brian was about to check for a collar. Just then, a car drove up into his driveway. Huh, good. Sherry and Dan are here. Maybe he can help. Might put a spell on you to let you talk or something like that. He snickered and left to meet his friends. He did not see that the cat's eyes widened, and it cocked his head as if going deeper into thought.
Stop there. That was Geoff Geist reading, and you said Brian's words in his voice. So, want to bring him on?
Hey guys, how's it going?
What's up?
Oh my goodness. So to answer the first question, I probably said the word Brian about 750 to 1,000 times. It seemed like every sentence began with the word Brian did this, Brian did that, and I got very used to saying the phrase Brian to the point where as I'm actually recording the audio or mastering the audio, I know that I know the word Brian by its audio clip or by the way it looks on the waves.
Oh, yeah.
It got to that point, but it was a lot of fun recording the entire thing. And yes, I did say the word Brian quite a bit. So it's great to finally meet you, Brian.
Yeah. I've been waiting he's been talking about it. And we've been waiting. So yeah, patiently waiting. So now it's at the end, hopefully.
Yeah,
soon.
so let's hope.
I can hear it. So yeah.
I like to start by saying just introduce yourself about who you are, what you do, and then I'm going to tell everybody how this kind of started. So you start and introduce yourself.
Gotcha. Well, my name is Geoff Geist. My real name is Geoff Geist, but professionally I go by Geoff Geist. I'm from the Detroit area of Michigan, just like Dan is. Sorry. Yeah, so I'm from the Detroit area, and I'm in marketing. I own Bullion Creative. It's an agency that I started, and it's a way for me to utilize my marketing skill set. I do lots of things regarding like graphic design and Facebook ads and do social media. Social media has been a lot of what I've done professionally. I do video work, did a lot of creative things like that. But one thing that I've always been interested in that I hadn't had the chance to do until this audiobook was voiceovers and audiobooks. I've worked in a number of different places, but I distinctly remember I worked at Buffalo Wild Wings as a server, and it was a lot of fun. Still love that Caribbean jerk sauce. But I would not say it's a stretch to say that 1 in every 8 customers would make some comment about my voice, saying that you should be an advertiser, you should be on TV or radio or something like that. I'm glad it was I had the voice for radio, not the face for radio. So that's something completely different. But a number of people would tell me, "Hey, Geoff, like you should go into voice acting and voiceover stuff." And I'll do that eventually. I'll do it eventually. But I after connecting with Dan and doing lots of, I read pretty often in church and other areas. It just happened. Okay, hey, let's actually make this happen. And it was a long process. These audiobooks take a lot of time, but I'm really just thrilled for what it is. And I look at this and all the work that put into it, and I take a step back and say, okay, well, I did some of the audio engineering and the front end part of actually recording it, the back end part of making it perfect. And I look at myself and, okay, yeah, you know what? Maybe I am pretty good at this thing. Not to build myself up or anything. I have a lot of work to do, but it's maybe all the people at Buffalo Wild Wings that were telling me to go do something with my voice, maybe they were onto something. So I do lots of different creative things. I've worked at a bunch of different companies in the Detroit area over the past few years. But the big thing right now, owning my own agency and doing voiceovers and entering into the space for the first time, I'm just absolutely thrilled about it. And there was a fantastic story to start off my my voiceover career with. So I'm very grateful for that.
Yeah, I was going to say that I met Geoff a couple years ago when I first moved up here because we have some mutual friends and we just kind of connected there. And then we were on a camping trip with the group of them a year ago. And during that trip, I was just talking about doing my reading of my stories online, and I would love to do an audiobook with my one self-published book. And Geoff sits there and says, I've wanted to do that. And I'm just clicking like, yeah, I'd love you to do that. And so we sat there and decided to give it a try. Now, let me tell you, I've had several different ambitions when it comes to something like this. And one of them has always been doing an audiobook radio style, which means I have different voices for every character. So you read it like a script, like you're listening to a movie. And I have tried that several times. I've got people who are professionals, people who are into this. And they're like, oh, yeah, let's do that. Let's do that. No one ever came through. I never had anybody actually do it. They flaked on it. I was like, I gave up on that. So when he said, let's do this, I'm like, yeah, maybe one of these days. And no, he grabbed it and he ran. And I was just like, wow, he's getting this done. So, and yes, it made me have a little more respect for the whole process, because I have several audiobooks, of course, 10 audiobooks now. And I have, companies hired to do it, and they'll start the process, and then months and months and months later, it's done. I'm like, why does it take so long? Now I know. I know. And, it's obvious the tedious work in there. That's the word. The tedious work in there is the hard part. It's like writing a book is fun. Editing a book is a pain. No different than reading it. I'm sure reading it was way easier than having to go through and fix the reading and get it all together.
One of the big things that I realized, and again, I have a lot of respect for audio engineers after this entire process. But the biggest thing that surprised me about making this audiobook is I spent about 2 or 3 hours in editing and post-production for every hour that I read. And this is about 9.5 hours of content that's on this audiobook. So thinking about, 36 to about 40 hours of work that went into this, it was no small undertaking. And even places that are able to fully devote their time to this is, the voiceover artist has to pay attention to their own voice too. I can't go from chapter to chapter to chapter and just do 8 hours of talking or 9 hours of talking all at once. No, I have to let my voice rest for a little bit. I drank a lot of LaCroix throughout the process, and I have no idea why it works, but LaCroix just has been my best friend throughout the entire thing, because it was what I used to help my voice recover. And I would record a chapter, go down and edit it. It'd take a long time, and then just repeatedly over and over, just keep on doing that. Well, that takes, again, a few hours. And so there'll be entire days where I'm getting only 1 or 2 to 3 chapters done at a time. And it's long and it's tedious. And I have a newfound appreciation for the people that are both behind the scenes and behind the microphone for this kind of stuff. And again, that was probably the biggest shocker that I had the biggest surprise that I had when creating this audiobook. But at the same time, with a little LaCroix, I can do anything.
I was going to say that I have a background in music, and vocal and instrumental. And stage. I have a massive background in stage and theater. One of the things that I'll tell you, one thing I learned, and using the LaCroix is good. Water would be better, but LaCroix is really good, is that your vocal cords will build up mucus and stuff. It's just natural. It's what happens. That's why when you have a cold or when you have allergies, stuff, your voice might sound different. It might sound muffled. You might be finding it harder when you talk, you start coughing. That's part of that. And so drinking water, or LaCroix, for those who are not in the North, who don't know what LaCroix is, seltzer water. It's a type of seltzer water. It will help clean that, and it's a good thing. Now, I said, again, you ask any music instructor, anybody, they're going to just say, drink water. That's it. Well, it's not only it. Herbal tea is also good. Caffeine isn't, because caffeine will dry out membrane. So it's bad on your vocal cords. So, but herbal tea, decaf tea, that can be good. Apple juice is excellent, but it's excellent post. So if you really talk a lot, sang a lot, whatever, on stage for several hours, and you're just kind of feeling like your throat's had it, drink apple juice. Pectin in apple juice is like a throat conditioner. It will help, but you don't want to drink it while you're doing something, because it gums you up. It'll make you worse. So there's ways to do it. Now, I was curious about it. Have you had any formal training in vocal work of any kind? Singing, speaking, theater?
So I've done a little bit of speaking. I've taken some speaking training actually a couple months ago. I was actually in DC for some public speaking training. So I've done some of that stuff, but in terms of being on stage or doing, I've actually taken some other courses in college and stuff, but to do this for performance, being on stage or even singing, no, I have never done anything like that. I've watched a lot of YouTube videos and kind of done things myself, but I've never had a vocal coach do this. What you see there is just kind of raw talent.
As I say, I had to work. Now, I was not born with any talent for speaking. And I know Chris Evans on here pointed out that I'm hard on myself. Well, I'm hard on myself for a reason. I am a mumbler. I speak too fast. I speak over my thoughts. That's part of having ADHD. It's what happens. I had to learn to speak clearly. I've had elocution. I have had vocal training. I've had singing and speaking training, speech training, all this. So I can speak. Right now, I'm doing way better than I would have 20 years ago. But I'll tell you, every time I do this, before this show tonight, before I do my shows on Friday, I go through vocal exercises. And I actually learned one recently. It was a YouTube or something challenge to say this without screwing it up. And I'm like, I heard them saying, I used to say that all the time because you had to. And your teacher would absolutely murder you if you screwed it up. It's mixed biscuits and a biscuit mixer. And people are doing all these YouTube videos trying to say that over and over again. And I can do that because I had to. I had to with like bamboo shoots under my fingernails because it was like the instructors, theater instructors are monsters. But they get progress here, okay? They have a do something. And so I was just saying that you have good, clear speech, which is good. And not everybody can do that.
So you had your theater teacher. My dad actually, for the longest time, I had the same problem. I still have the same problem. I probably even talked fast on this broadcast, but I have long thought ahead of actually what I'm saying. And so sometimes my voice tends to be staccato, where I talk really fast and then I want to get to something and then I slow down and then I talk really fast again. It's a bad habit that I get into. I know that I know what I want to say. I can't wait to get there. So I just speed up, get through the part you don't really care about, get through the transitional parts to get to the actual core stuff. I had to really be intentional about that as I was producing this book. I actually noticed for myself, as I would go back and run things, I would trip up very often in the middle of big, long paragraphs. Never happened when it was small, 2 or 3 lines. But during big paragraphs, like towards the end, like my brain would say, okay, get through this a little bit, kind of, get moving here before you take a verbal break. And that was something early on as I was producing the work. I was realizing this. Okay, wow, I'm tripping up in certain places. Wait a second. All happens to be towards the end of big long paragraphs. And I think I later brought it back to saying, hey, no, that's something that your brain's used to. And because you're doing this audiobook, not just talking to somebody, this is going to be something recorded. I need to make sure that I speak very slowly, speak very intentionally. One thing that you mentioned to me that I really try to put into practice is to talk, use your lips, get every syllable, your lips around every syllable in every word. And that was something as I realized, like in the middle of recording something, okay, I'm screwing up over this one part again and again. Hey, lips around every syllable. Okay. And then I would slow down. And there might be times in there where some people might realize, hey, I'm trying to be very intentional about how I'm saying something. It's because, yes, I'm the audiobook recorder is saying, okay, I need to be intentional about this specific part. And it was, a lot of, the back end goes into that. But it's very interesting, the kind of the devices that are used to keep someone on track and to keep someone like a performer to keep them going and making sure that the content they're producing, which is going to be, again, this is a recording that's going to go that you don't get a second chance at, that it's going to be memorable and rereadable, re-listenable by multiple people.
Yeah, I had the very same problem. And that's where I had a theater coach doing vocal work with an entire class, gave us all poetry to learn, mostly tongue twisters. But then she challenged me rudely about doing, because I could do the tongue twisters. And I was very, I'll say, arrogant about the fact that I could do them. And so she challenged me with something called Modern Major General. I not only memorized that to within an inch of its life, I did not mispronounce a single word in it. And I'm not going to do this here. It's very long. But if you ever look up on YouTube or anything, the Modern Major General, and listen to it, it is one of the most articulated, concise tongue twisters you'll ever hear. And it was part of I believe it was the Pirates of Penzance. It's from a play from the 19th century. And it's, my God, that is butchering to do. Okay. If you don't do it right, your brain will misfire. And I had to learn that one. That one has made a change in how I speak. So I understand that entirely. Now, I was curious, how did you figure out how you wanted to do voices for the different characters? What was your process?
So when looking at the content, I mean, the standard one tends to be, okay, well, I'm going to do higher voices for the female characters and lower voices for the male characters, and then going extra low if there's like a military person or someone that's deeper. In the actual work, there are all these different, there are a bunch of different male characters. So I had to say, okay, how do I differentiate between someone? So I actually gave Dan, the Winter Wizard, I wonder who that would be. I actually gave Dan a British accent, and I like to do British accents. I played a lot of FIFA as in college and in other areas, and I listened to some Brits talk. And so I liked to say that I could do a decent British accent. At a previous job that I had, I was doing YouTube videos, and it was called Dedicated Automotive. They're still up on YouTube, to my knowledge.
Yeah,
and one of those one of the videos is me doing a British accent and talking about car parts with a British accent on. And I had people that said that, this is actually not a bad British accent. I said, I don't know what you're talking about. It's terrible, but it was fun to do. And so I took that and I applied it to, Dan and said, okay, this is a way that I can ensure that people know who's talking, even if the descriptor is not there within the text itself.
Yeah, I've one of the people I worked with in my last theater production was a person who did vocal work for voice ranging, because we did Christmas Carol. And so we had to do different British accents, different men, different women, all that. And I played 5 different people in this production. So I had to have 5 different British accents. And he was the one who said what you said. Most people doing women's voices, for guys, they just get higher. If a guy is doing a guy's voice, they just make it more manly. And he said, you have to realize that the voice can be here, 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 or here. And what he means is you can do the voice up here where you're talking from the top of your nose up on the top, or you can do your voice out of your throat so you sound like coming from here, or you can do your voice back here and find your nose, and instead of all sounding like the same guy, you literally just changed one little thing and you sound like a whole other person. Yeah. And that was my saving grace, because I was trying to do that play and I sounded like the same British man the whole play. And then he's like, okay, sit down. We'll figure this out. So, but just like I can't do women's voices. If you ever listen to my Friday show where I'm reading from my book for the Joshua of Egypt story, my women's voices are horrible. And I that's why I want to do the radio version of something like that, because I want women to do their voices. I sound like a guy trying to do it. That's because that's what it is.
Yeah. No, I definitely get it, especially when you're talking about like doing female voices. I do the higher pitch stuff. Unfortunately, my vocal range isn't that great where I can do a great like falsetto. But yeah, I try to make sure that I'm using different parts of my skull to get different voices in. And to do them on a whim, it takes a little bit of practice to do. I remember the first few that I was doing, just making sure that I'm being able to switch between these on a whim. Like I had there were a lot of redos in the first couple of chapters of the first book because there were so many of these different characters talking all around the same time.
My biggest pet peeve when I've heard audiobooks is when you can tell, it's so plainly obvious, you can tell that they, instead of really doing much themselves, they've used technology to kind of tweak the voice a little lower here, tweak it a little higher. And so it just sounds bad.
So it's like T-Pain with auto-tune?
Kind of. It's just like, really? I mean, I can respect. For my reading, and when I record it and do it, when I do like Zeus, because I have gods in my story, Zeus, I don't actually change his voice, but I add like an echo and thunder behind him. So I throw that in there. That's fine. But if I just tune it way down, you could tell that because it all of a sudden is going to talk really slow. It's like, stop. It's painful. My artist side is just going, no. Quit toying with it. Just do it right. But people are paying for it, so okay.
Yeah.
Now, okay, about the story. So, did you get into the story? What was some of your favorite points to read?
So, getting into story, I will say first and foremost, like if I'm looking for audiobook content, fantasy content and stuff like this probably isn't the first thing that I'm looking for. And I think that was actually a big benefit to actually performing the audiobook, because I was able to understand the story. The key that I really appreciated was how descriptive so many of the worlds were. Especially at the very beginning of each chapter, there's a lot of description of what's going on. And as I'm doing this, I'm really able to explain things in detail and make the picture to make the picture a lot clearer. One thing that I have in my mind that I love about the audiobook medium is that audiobooks are a visual medium. Just the screen is in the listener's head. And so I, as the audiobook reader, I'm the one that's painting that picture. And so it'll look different to every person, and that's part of the beauty of it. But especially when getting into some of the real descriptive areas at the beginnings of chapters and setting scenes, and or like when Brian and Dan, when they're going to the mountain range for the first time to enter the Dragon's Mountain, like this is we're able to be very descriptive and again paint a picture of what this looks like, painting a picture of what these different worlds look like, to better communicate and really set the scene and really immerse the listener into what's going on. And so to answer your question, it's being descriptive and again, setting the scene for what the listener is going to be hearing. But I will also say some of the battle scenes were great too. There's a couple really interesting twists that Dan was able to throw in. And I got to say, like, this is a very well written, very well thought out piece of work. I like to think I don't do the book entirely as much justice as it should, because it is a great piece, and the themes are pretty recognizable. Some of the names are pretty recognizable, like Merlin, and the Sword of Excalibur. They're pretty like well known things. Even again, a non-fantasy fan like me, I know those types of names. But there really is like a something for everyone type component to this. Unless you're a rom-com fan, this is not a book for rom-com lovers. But otherwise, like just being able to do to have like battle scenes in there, and like deceptions and different things happening, and incorporating different story characteristics to make something really to draw out some tension. I really enjoyed the tense scenes especially as things are getting down to like the very end, when Brian and Richard and Mr. Cat are suddenly winning, and here's the very ending scenes where it's all going to end now, and it's fun to do that, because even in the small descriptive words that I'm using, I'm able to increase that tension and really control the tension, make sure that the reader understands just how important this is, and kind of give them a little preview as to what's going to happen. I mean, spoiler, the good guys win, but it's to play with that tension and to express that it was a lot of fun to be able to do. Before getting into this book, I would have never thought about something like that. But again, like to think about tense scenes and really get into the cusp of what the book is talking about, and really the meat of the book, to be able to handle that, it's much more important than someone would think. It's beyond just reading it. it's making sure that the reader or the listener understands how tense this scene is and how important it is to the overall story.
Yeah, actually, you mentioned something there. When I wrote this book, one of my goals was to not have any romantic angle at all. And that's such a cliche. I don't want to say cliche, it's a trope. It's a trope within the fantasy and science fiction, but fantasy genre, partly due to some of their origins of fantasy have definitely heavily got the romantic angle to them. And because of who I was writing this for and about, we're all friends. Nobody was, husband, wife, no one's boyfriend, girl. The real people I'm talking about were just all friends and acquaintances. So I'm like, I don't want to say they are falling in love. I don't want to throw in this. So, and that gave me a challenge, but it also provided a new avenue to the writing, because then I'm free from having to worry about that angle. But at the same time, that angle is such an anchoring trope in the fantasy genre overall that without it, you have to make sure that the impactful nature of emotion in the story is still there.
Mm-hmm.
The love of someone is not anchoring them to what they're doing. You have to go a different angle to it. And so that was actually very challenging. It was very challenging.
Yeah, it seems like because most stories that we would think of, whether they're movies or books or audiobooks or something like that, most stories, they have a love component because, well, it's one of the it's the greatest human emotion. But when we think about the concept of friendship, okay, one of the really interesting underpinning questions of this story is, how far would you go for a friend? Or would you leave a friend out in the cold? The first thing is, of course not. I'd stand up for my friends. I'd do anything for my friends. Well, at what cost? And that becomes part of essentially, I'm not going to give up too much of the story. Again, the good guys win, but it's a really interesting way that all of it happens. It's a real challenge to be able to do something like that and to produce a good, gripping, tense work that incorporates friendship and not love into it, not having any love triangles or will the hero save the princess at the very end. It's interesting to watch that happen. And again, you're not going to mention it. I'll give you a lot of credit for it. It showcases the skill of the writer to be able to say, hey, we can make a great story without using an overused love trope.
Yeah. And especially in recent years in the fantasy genre, I think that you have a lot of romance angle to it, that it's filtered with it. And the problem I have is that when the only ones that really don't are younger middle grade fantasies, like Heart or Spiderwick Chronicles, something like that, where because your characters are 10 years old, so a romance angle is not them. So, but that works differently. And this one, my characters, it's a young adult book, but my characters are not young adults. So it was different, but it was fun. I found that rather enjoyable, actually, as I got into it, because it forced me out of some barriers that were definitely put up, not even by me, by others.
Mm-hmm.
So,
yeah, getting out of your comfort zone. You can tell that there are, there's a very easy way that this could have gone, especially if there was a love component. Okay, there's a very straightforward angles and lines of storylines and story arcs and different side things, but to take that out makes, again, a much more interesting and fun, dare I say, concept to work with, especially as you're looking at how life and death and how deep you would go, again, just for a friend. So I can't wait for this to come out. The book's definitely been out. It's been out for a while now. So if you haven't read it yet, you can still read the book. But if you want to wait for listening, it's coming soon. I'm excited about that. So outside of the book, Bullion Creative, what else? Are you looking to do more audiobooks? Are you really excited about doing that? Again, after having gone through the process and doing all this, I definitely think, hey, audiobooks are definitely something I want to incorporate more into Bullion Creative. I started Bullion Creative with a desire to say, hey, I think I have a great skill set. It's not a great skill set. I work a lot in marketing. I like to think that I do great work. And I'm always improving, always doing great stuff. But audiobooks specifically was one thing I really wanted to focus on, and dipping my toes into this water was something I was really excited about doing when starting with Bullion Creative. And so, like to answer your question plainly and clearly, yes. If there are other people who are looking for audiobook recording, I'm more than happy to work with you. It's a lot of fun doing this. I know it's a lot of work, and I'm saying, hey, okay, if I want to make this a bigger component of Bullion Creative, well, I'm gonna have to devote a lot more time to this. And I'm excited about what the future might hold for me within Bullion with doing audiobooks. But I'm even more excited about being able to bring things to life. I can't imagine what it must be like for a author to say, hey, like this is my work that's being read and being published and doing all this. It has to be somewhat similar to the first time that your book actually got published and feeling the pages in your hand. That must be an incredible feeling. I'd have to imagine the same kind of thing is happening when you're doing an audiobook too, when you're listening to your work being performed for the first time. Mm-hmm. And that's one thing about Bullion that I really wanted to do. So, for example, this Riza coffee shirt. This is a shirt from a friend. The audiobook that I'm doing. This is a friend's book that I'm doing. I have lots of things. The typical small business owners first thing. Okay, well, hey, do any of my friends need something? So I'm going to help my friends out as much as possible. So you're already utilizing my relationships already. I love doing that kind of stuff. My desire with Bullion has been to say, okay, what of my friends' dreams can I help them achieve? Like my Dan wants his audiobook, his work turned into an audiobook. Hey, beautiful. I'd be happy to take care of that. Or I have other friends who I'm doing advertising campaigns for things they're very passionate about. I have other friends that are, for example, what's another good example I can give you? I have another friend, he's starting out his own business. And so I completely gave him what's called a complete graphic design overhaul. Another friend who's extremely passionate about mental health. He's starting up a mental health app. It's going to be really cool. And I create all the graphic design for it. And all of this is just, hey, again, what dreams of my friends can I help them achieve? And that's that's the mindset behind Bullion Creative, especially at the very outset. I would love to expand more and make more friends and help their dreams come true. Help, publish whatever, do anything possible for that. But yeah, it's ultimately coming down to, okay, what of my friends' dreams can I help make happen?
It's wonderful because you're definitely working for this. This was one area I kept having to tell people. I have audiobooks for all of my published books through publishers, but my self-published, I don't. And you're right. Audiobooks have exploded over the past 10 years. Mm-hmm. They were a thing before, but Amazon through Audible has created a whole different generation of audiobook readers. Mm-hmm. When I was first published way back in the day, it was prior to Audible, and audiobooks were considered something that truckers listen to on the road and joggers listen to on the treadmill, but not me. Now everybody's going, oh, well, I got cell phone, I got my Audible, my ebooks, and it's like that totally has changed the dynamic. And that for me is a positive and a negative. Positive is I want people to hear, read, watch, whatever my work. I want people to enjoy it. I do it to entertain. They need to be entertained. But the negative is I can produce a book, I can produce a cover, I can produce an ebook. I can't produce an audiobook. I am trained enough. I think I could read. I could do the speaking part. I don't know the technical stuff. 90% of the stuff you did outside of reading it is so foreign to me. It's outside of my consideration. And so, yes, that was definitely, it was such a benefit, such a blessing that you were able to do that. And There are things I want you to show me because I'm trying to do stuff, and I'm like, how did he's using the same program? Why does he sound better than me? Well, beyond the voice, I mean, it's also this, but still, okay.
Well, hey, if a guy like me can learn how to make all this happen and do everything, I'm sure I can teach you. It is again, the biggest thing is for doing audiobooks, it's tedious. It's okay because every chapter has to have its own file. And everything has to be done in a specific order, and you can either do things as they go or all at once, and take a way longer time to do it. There's definitely an art to it, and part of the challenge for me, and the thing that I'm really thrilled about having done is okay. Now I know how the sausage is made, so to speak. Now I know. Okay, here's the various order to do things so I can make this process go a lot quicker. It's still going to take a good chunk of time. Again, I can probably whittle it down to about 2 hours, maybe an hour and a half of work for each time. An hour and a half would be really, really great. But to be able to do something like this, it takes much longer. Again, as we talked about before, it takes much longer than expected. But it's not impossible. It's just being very diligent about things and being willing to just do kind of some rote things and being willing to wait for a little bit while your computer is compressing and changing up these files and stuff.
Now, I have to point out that Brian, I thought about having him do voice recording but he can't follow script. He can't. I mean, he tries. He really does. But I've heard him, and it would take a lot longer to get to the book.
Yeah, your best bet is just you don't want me to narrate anything, so your best bet is just buy the book or hire somebody else. So yeah, people, like you, people tell me, oh, you should be on radio. You should talk on the radio. You got that voice. Like somebody would, lots of people would pay attention.
Mm-hmm.
So and that's why I've been doing this for 6 years. Well, the first half of it. Okay.
Such a good voice that Siri's all of a sudden paying attention.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Because Dan, the first time, I mean, when we met, I mean, I was only doing online radio. You couldn't see me. You could only hear us when Sherry and I were doing the show together. And it was only part way through, 3 years that we started doing video or whatever, thanks to her. That was her idea, but it stuck. So, yeah. And I'm so happy that I came up with this author's challenge on the show when I was with Sherry, because there probably, I don't know if there would have been a Winter Wizard.
No. Actually, to give a little background here, the Winter Wizard started as a poem about 10 years ago. In East Tennessee, we don't have hard winters, but one year we had an unusual dip name. All the weather came together to have this incredible ice and snow event. But instead of being a hard blizzard like everybody was scared of, I looked out and it was the first time I'd ever seen the trees turn to ice. Since in Oklahoma that happened on a regular basis, there it didn't. And I'm in the mountains. The mountains turned snowy. The trees were sparkling. It was gorgeous. And so I sat down and I wrote a poem about the winter wizards. And I ever since I wrote that, I thought I want to write a story about a winter wizard. And I put that on the back burner and then eventually just kind of filed it away until you did this challenge. And I'm like, I'm going to do a winter wizard challenge. I'm going to do this. And so in reality, it started out as a poem a long, long time ago.
Yeah.
And the poem literally has no impact on the story because it was just the name Winter Wizards just got me. So, but yeah, the challenge, without that challenge, it would have still been in my files. And I'm so glad I did that because I got done writing, or I started writing with the idea of something Brian and Sherry would enjoy. And by the time I got done with it, I'm like, I think other people might enjoy this.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. It's a popular book. So,
yeah, Chris Evans on here points out that for the online game I worked for, he says I've written about 1 million or so words in the game. Not quite. Last year I did 350,000 words, and this year I lowered it because I cut a little bit out. I'm around 200,000 words so far for this year for the game. So, yeah. I write a lot. So, in fact,
And Chronicles, meaning he's read that's both books.
2 books.
That's the whole shebang. So he gets to read my attitude, and I believe I swear.
no, actually,
right?
because when
Did you read it?
When I published this, the published people kept saying, "Make this for young adults." It's young adult, and so I changed it around to make it. And to be fair, it really wasn't that bad. It really wasn't. I've read young adult literature that's way worse than that was, but I wanted to have something that that no one would that no one have to complain about the language, no matter what kind it is. People complain, but that's a whole other problem. But yeah, I toned that out of there, because I decided to really, really gear it toward a young adult reader. And this was also a challenge in a different way, because I've had people tell me that young adult books have to have a 16-year-old or younger protagonist, and they have to have that age of a protagonist girlfriend or other person with them, that kids who read young adult won't read a book about somebody over the age of 16. And so I'm like, well, guess what? I'm going to do it because self-published. I can do what I want to. I put it out there. I started selling at conventions. Guess who's my number one buyer for this book? 14-year-olds. And they love it. Absolutely love it. So you tell me about it. I'll say, you tell me what you think, you 60-year-old publisher. I'll go to this 14-year-old kid who's loving the book, and you explain to me why he shouldn't be reading it. So that was part of the reason why I did that. I'm like, you know what? I'm not changing this. I'm going to just take out a little bit of the edge of the language and see if it can't go for young adult. And guess what? It is.
Maybe the author knows what he's doing.
Well, I'm in the public. That's something I will say. When you're dealing with publishing, you have to understand that publishers, a lot of them, have sat behind a desk for 40 years, and they don't have their finger on the pulse as much as they think they do. Now, a lot of them do about a lot of things. I will give them credit about many things, about marketing, about putting the book out there. They really do know a lot there, but there are things that they'll say, well, this is the way it was. I'm like, yeah, it was in 1995. The world's changed a little since then. We have smart technology now. So it is
boomers, we love you. Boomers, we love you. But just a heads up, you guys didn't grow up with this kind of technology like we did. It's definitely a different world, and it's interesting to see how content has changed. It seems like nowadays it's all around us. We have everything is on demand. Like very few people watch shows like regularly, like every week, like they did. Game of Thrones was one of the big ones. I'm not a huge Game of Thrones fan, but when everything is available on Netflix all at once, it changes the way that people view content. Now it's not. I'm watching episodes after episodes. It's not. I'm waiting a week to watch each episode. I'm watching episode after episode, like all at once. I'm binge watching this. And one of the cool parts about the Witcher Chronicles is that this is 2 books in one. This is you're binge watching this. You've been listening to this, but also seeing how things get drawn out and how the stories have to keep someone's attention for that long, like to have something like almost like binge worthy. And again, looking at how the story was constructed, looking at some of the themes and the tropes that are incorporated into this, and again, doing this without having a love interest in it. It is a very creative piece of work, and I would say a very modern, but one I think that people are already loving this as it is, but it will definitely stand the test of time. I think it will.
I hope so. I really do. So yes, the difference in culture today. Oh my God, I think social media has aged everybody. You talk to a 5-year-old and they're complaining about politics. I mean, so it's definitely changed people, and you have to definitely go with that flow. But
well, I would say in some ways it has definitely dumbed us down. I think we'll call it this way. I think social media has turned everyone into a 16-year-old. So if you are younger than that, it has made you grow up pretty quickly. If you're older than that, which most people are, get us talking about certain topics, and all of a sudden it's like we're 16 years old again, and we're fighting over just random stuff that we're going to forget about the next day.
Yeah, absolutely. That's why I try my absolute best to stay out of arguments online, because you don't win those. You just end up walking away with the bruised ego.
No one's opinion has ever been changed by an online argument.
no matter how many caps you use.
Sometimes I need to remind myself of that as well.
So, Brian, do you have any other questions?
I don't think so. I just want the audio version. That's all I want.
Well, for Brian, everybody else listening, you don't get this privilege, but Brian is actually going to get a preview copy, sort of it because he's in the book, and so GG Geist will send him that because he has that. But soon the audiobook will be out there, and I'm very excited about that. Very, very excited to see that going. One thing I have to say is when I was listening to it, because I clipped chapters and just listened to parts here and there to basically sample as I was working on it, trying to get it myself, which I couldn't. He had to. Because I'm listening to it, and there are times that I'm immediately expecting a certain voice because I heard that voice in my head as I'm writing them. But you don't know what's up here, thank God, as I'm writing. And so your interpretation of that works, but it's so different than what's up here. It throws me. And as an author, it only happens to the author. It really does only happen to the author when you're doing audiobooks or anybody doing something like that, mispronouncing a word that you've written that's brand new. No one's ever heard it before. You're sitting there going, no, it's pronounced this way. Don't you know? Oh, wait, no, you don't. Nobody knows. So I was listening to the Dragon Wand book on the audiobook for the first time. It's been out for years. For the first time just recently, and I did not know until then that the guy who's reading it pronounces the Raki people, the Raki, all the way through it. It's like Raki. And it stunned me for a second. I was like, what did he just say? And then my brain says, don't you know how to pronounce that? And then I remember when he recorded it, it hadn't even been produced yet. I'm like, oh, well, no, you don't know how to pronounce that. I do. It's in my brain. So...
And again, that's part of the great part about like books but audiobooks in general. It's okay. It's you're going through the reader's interpretation of the author's material, and so again, that is added responsibility on me to make sure that okay, I am presenting the information as it should. And like so some things might be a little bit different. My interpretation is like. It is important that I get that right, or I present that in a clever and a unique way, because it is how the reader is going to consume that. And so the picture that's painted in each person's head is going to be different and unique to them. And it's really cool to be able to be that person that's delivering that to them.
Yeah, when I did the Remnant, and the person who was doing the recording, she was actually in Alaska. And we had a Zoom call so we could figure it out. But I love what she did. And I'm only other person who's ever done this for me in that is she sat down and she had me phonetically spell out every word in the book that I invented, a name, a place, something like that. And if it still didn't come across, she'd say, okay, can you just say this for me? I'll record it now and we'll play it back. She got it down, what I'm thinking, onto a piece of paper, onto the computer, so that when she read it, she was getting what I said, what I believed that was right. Now, I'm not going to complain about this. If people want to call it however they want to, I invented this race. It's a totally new people. So if you want to call them, as long as you're close, it's all right. It's your interpretation of that world. But I don't mind if somebody asks me, how do you say this? Because I do have a set in stone in my brain how this is said. Or how the voice is. But I love that she did that. We did that. We had sometimes I was trying to explain to you how to say these words. But there were some of them you didn't ask about, and you got it right away. So apparently I did well.
Well, as long as it doesn't have too many different vowels and too many different syllables, I'm decent at getting some of that. And so I like to think that it's a nice little challenge to try to figure out what the author was thinking about that. Okay, is it Yohanananda? Is it Yohanananda? Is it Yohanananda? Like, how do I figure out what it is? And you know what? Hey, I'm the audiobook reader. I either ask you or I can just do it, and that just becomes it. It's part of the fun part of being the audiobook recorder. It's kind of what I say goes. But as close as I want to get it to the actual source material so that it's as true to it as possible, I can kind of put my own spin on it in a way that hopefully adds to the content as opposed to taking away from it.
And I've always told people, first, I do believe that you are within your right when you're reading a book to have your own spin on how something is said, a word, and place names, something like that. If it's new and totally within the realm of that book only, it's your experience with it. But saying that, one of my pet peeves I've had my whole life reading, especially in fantasy and science fiction, are authors who go out of their way to make the names of people and places so overtly complicated. They think it sounds really cool in fantasy. I'm like, but no one can pronounce that. And so every time you read it, your brain hits this brick wall of bleh, and suddenly you're out of the story going, okay, that's Mick X Lactic. God, I'm gonna call him Bob and just move on, And so you changed it in your brain to something that not the author wanted. He's lost that coolness he thought he had. And so personally, from day one, as I've been writing, I've tried to make all of my names and stuff that are truly my creations something that is understandable, often lyrical, so it's easy to pronounce, and phonetic. So when you read the word on the page, if you read it phonetically, you're going to pronounce it how I envisioned it. So that comes from years of reading this stuff, and just there are times when you're like, this is a professional author published by a big publisher. How did they let him do this? I mean, how many X's do you need in a name? Okay. So, yeah.
It's almost like Elon Musk's child. XAE1282, something like that.
Yeah. The kid.
Like an AIM username.
It's his password. If you haven't even figured that out, you can get there. It's his password. So. Okay, we have definitely run over our hour. So, anything else, Brian?
That usually happens when you have good people on.
I appreciate that, guys. It has been an absolute joy to be on here. It's awesome what you're doing. I'm finally happy to meet the Brian, whose name I've said so many times over the past few months. It's a pleasure to meet you again. I'm really excited for the Winter Wizard Chronicles to come out. I really feel like we did a great job on this. By we, I mean I think Dan did a great job on this, and for those listening, it's a great piece of work that I really think any lover of fantasy is going to enjoy. But even if you're not a fantasy lover, there are things in there for you with this work, and I'm assuming people who listen to the show are very familiar with Dan's writing, have bought a number of his books. You will not be disappointed by this book. This is a great piece.
I was going to say, in this book, the whole Chronicles, you spend way more time with Brian than you do with me. My character, spoiler alert, my character doesn't actually have a lot of screen time in book 2, the longer book. So Brian definitely takes center stage. And I did that on purpose. I wanted Brian to be the center stage of it. And so I mean that was actually purposeful. I wanted to extract enough so that it was his story running through. And so Geoff here spent a way more time with Brian than with me in that story.
It's been much longer than just 1 hour.
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah. I can't wait. Wait. Yes, because I've been part of the process. From, when you were writing it, I would get little snippets. You would send me chapter here to read, chapter there, get my thoughts on things or whatever. The process for you trying to get, personalities for the characters, because these are real people. You're using their name, so to be interviewed and then, whatever. And then now I have to listen to some guy who's me. Who's me, or so it's I'm anxious.
And for the listeners, for Geoff, I'll give you a little character list, and this is again not spoiling anything, but of the people in the story that are real. Now, okay, I say real; they're based on real people. All right. Well, of course, the Winter Wizard is named Dan. Brian happens to be the secondary main character for the first one, and the main character for the majority of the second. Sherry, this is Brian. Sherry plays a role throughout the whole story. She is the former co-host of the Brian and Sherry show. Sylvia, who is in the story, she's the head of the Ghost Library. She is an author, Sylvia Schultz, who is a ghost hunter. Richard, and what was his last name? My brain has just lost Richard's last name.
Richard Fisher.
Fisher. Thank you.
Fisher, yes.
Mr. Fisher was one of the other authors within the first challenge, and he liked to write science fiction. So I made him a pilot of a ship in the book. Let's see here. Alicia, who's the queen, is named after somebody Brian knows, right?
My manager from the gas station, because I actually did work at a gas station.
I work at a gas station.
Interesting.
Yeah, absolutely.
I
Certain
mean,
things are true.
This book is littered with people, and there's some mentions here and there, but a lot of these story carrying characters are based on real people with purpose. As I said, like Sylvia, I made her a ghost because she's a ghost hunter. Richard's a pilot in a ship. I did all that. So that's so Geoff, you will end up in a story one of these days. Okay.
I love it. I love it.
And that time you can voice it, and it will sound just like the real person.
Gotcha. Well, I'll see if I can get my my vocal quirks in there as much as possible.
So okay. Well, it has been great to have you on here tonight. Again, the book's coming out soon, so we'll be listening to you hopefully a lot.
Yes, I'm hoping so too. So keep Dan. Obviously, I'm assuming lots of people that are listening to this know Dan's page. Pay attention to his page for more details. Mm-hmm. I have my own page, Bullion Creative. I'm on Facebook. That's the only place I really have social media right now. And then bullioncreative.com if people are interested in working with me or are interested in the other work that I've done. There's that. I'm also on Twitter at my name is Geoff. That's Geoff with a G. That's the first part of Geoff Geist. So my name is Geoff on Twitter. But it has been an absolute joy to be on here. I'm really looking forward to the release date, and we'll keep everyone updated as much as we can.
Absolutely.
Yes, definitely. I know Brian will put the links to your page and anything I put on this for the book on the Brian and Dan Hour page, and of course my page on Facebook. I'll be putting on Twitter. I have some presence on Instagram, and I have YouTube, but I throw things on there just randomly, so don't follow that. So, so thank you for being here tonight, Geoff.
Yes, thank you.
And we will definitely be listening to you as we go forward with this. So.
Beautiful. I am looking forward to more, and I'm looking forward to some more opportunities and to more opportunities to work with you, work with other people, and just using these talents again to help bring people's dreams to life.
Very much. Thank you. Thank you for being here. I'll say good night, Geoff, or Geoff Geist.
Thanks, guys. Appreciate it. It's been a pleasure.
Night.
Have a good one. I always forget. 13 minutes. We didn't do too bad. So yeah, I really want that book, by the way. So don't forget me.
I can't wait for it to.
I'll pay for it. I do honestly. I will pay for the audio version. I really want the audio version. So, listening to the clips we played during the show of Geoff here. So because. To be honest with you, I really wasn't into audiobooks. When I read the book, and I am a reader, I make up my own the way that they would sound or act out, or whatever. So trying to listen to somebody read the story for me, it's like, wait a minute, this doesn't sound right. Why would he use that type of voice? So, and then I stop listening to it. But I have a feeling that I'm going to enjoy this book mainly because I'm in it. Right?
Of course. Yeah, definitely.
That's important. But yeah. So yeah. So we'll make sure to post any update as I hear things. I'm pretty sure Dan will know first. So make sure you like and subscribe to his page and everything else. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Share this show on Facebook. Like it, love it, do whatever you need to do. Share it with your friends and families, your enemies. I don't care who it is. Everyone needs to watch this. So, yeah. And I'll make sure to post those links on our page for him. So, yeah.
Yep.
There's the link. Look at that.
That's my page on Facebook. I try to keep it updated, but I've got so much. I've been working on a 12-part story for Heroes Rising. I'm working on a novella for a friend's anthology, and I'm working on Dragon Wand Book 5.
Yeah.
very much going to be coming out very soon because I want to have it available for Motor City Comic Con, which is just 6 weeks away. No, I'm sorry. Right. It's 4 weeks away. It's 4 weeks away.
It's coming up. Yeah.
And so I want to have it available for that, which means today I got the final cover for book 5. We're going to debut that tomorrow. So you'll be seeing that, and it looks really great. So I've got that. And then my book, The Owl-Headed Wand, final editing of it is done. And so I am now shopping it around to agents and publishers because I've had some interest in it from some bigger names. And I don't want to say anything at the moment, but I'm really excited about it. And the great thing is Owl-Headed Wand is set in the universe of the Winter Wizard Chronicles.
Oh.
So if you like the Winter Wizard Chronicles, when the Owl-Headed Wand comes out, you're going to want to get it.
Oh. Okay. It's going to give me something to read. Yeah, absolutely.
I'm going every which direction right now of all kinds of stuff.
Yeah, and you're still doing, and now you're back to doing your Friday shows.
Yeah, I kind of got delayed on getting back to almost it was a month.
Yeah.
From it because I had so much going on, and I finally was able to sit down and get back to it. And we're very close. We're closing in towards the end of the book, but we still have a lot to go. So anyways, thank you for being here tonight, everybody. And we hope you all have a wonderful night and enjoy fall. Fall is going to be here soon. It's too stinking hot. I want fall. I love the colors. I love time. So let's all say fall's going to be here soon. So.
Absolutely. No, thank you, Geoff, for coming on and talking to us.
Mm-hmm.
So absolutely. And I hope you come back. You should come back when the audio is released. That's what you should do, right? Big old party.
We should have a release party of some nature.
That's right. We should. It's a very important book to me. So, all right, that is it. So we will see everyone next week, next Thursday. Mm-hmm. And you never know what's going to happen. So we have some more guests coming up. We'll talk more about it next week as we get close to that. So, yeah, that's it. Did you have anything else after this? Do I need to stick around?
No, I'm actually going to my other computer and get writing because I still have to finish for Heroes Rising. So.
All right. And again, Geoff, thanks for watching and coming on too.
Thanks for being here.
So, yeah. Oh, and if anyone has any questions for Geoff, just post them, and I'm pretty sure that he can see them and, you know, about everything that he does. All right. That is it. Goodbye, everyone.
Good night, everybody.